The following podcast contains adult themes and adult language. Listener discretion advised.
And although we joke, if you or someone you know is affected by or a victim of domestic violence, dial 1-800-799-7233 or visit the National Domestic Violence Hotline's website, thehotline.org.
But it's always the husband, it's always the husband, it's always the husband, I don't keep bed.
Hi, everybody. This is Sarah.
And this is Megan.
And you are listening to It's Always the Husband podcast.
Welcome.
Yes. Thank you again for giving us a break due to my immune system that I have from a small boy from the 1700s. I caught George Washington's carbuncle again, and it's not good.
You guys, this was a rough week, and I predicted malaria. No, I predicted mono for you, and then it wased mono.
It wasn't.
But it could have been mono previously, and you just
could have
came too late.
Because I've had it twice before. It loves me.
But it was a double ear infection.
Yeah.
For which they gave her nothing, and
They said to write it out.
They said write it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was a trip to the emergency room as well.
Yeah,
at 4 a.m.
because I had blood pressure in the thousands.
Yeah,
it was 2,000 over 1,000,
and it prompted her to stay there.
Yep, I was there for 4 hours, and all they said was, "You have a double ear infection."
And you're like, I already knew that.
And then they said, "We're not going to give you anything. You're just going to write it out." And I said, "That's the theme."
Yeah. And they also covered up the blood pressure.
Yeah, because it was going
numbers, because every time it would take her blood pressure, then it would go even higher.
Because when I would
higher.
look, it would go
Yeah.
higher. So the doctor started covering it up and saying, "Don't stop looking."
So we really weren't just shitting you and being like, Sarah doesn't feel good. We just don't feel like recording. She was in dire straits. If this is your first time listening, I'm Megan. That's Sarah.
Yeah.
She was sick, and this is a true crime podcast where we do not research anything. We just watch a show and talk about it, and then basically shoot the shit with each other.
Yeah.
If you like that sort of thing, keep on listening.
Right. If you're a Gen X menopausal woman, you fit right into. Because that's us.
Right.
We've had it, and we just want to hit it and kick it. And we've had it, and fuck it.
Exactly.
But we have a new Patreon. Her name is Amy Crum. And we are actually going to plan to get an episode to you guys soon. Like
this weekend. I said we have to do it.
I feel like maybe my blood pressure will go down and my carbuncle will cure.
I think.
And my ears will drain. And
Saturday,
so we'll be good.
You'll have 2 good ears and the carbuncle gone.
Right. Yes.
So let's do it. Let's get some stupid shit out there on the Patreon, because we had a bunch 2 weeks ago too. We had a long list of Patreon.
So we're gonna get all new stuff.
Thank you
for them.
Yes. Amazing. So you had a shitty week. My daughter turned 13.
I know.
So I now have a teenager again.
And LaChach was home?
Yes, I have a 21-year-old who came home like a good big sister for her sister's birthday, 13th birthday. And then we went bowling.
That's fun.
And it was really fun. Just went as just our little family unit of 5. And then, of course, she had a slumber party on Saturday.
Oh,
so I was
momming
it all weekend.
Gross.
And
that's why Nut Bar was angry you couldn't entertain her with marbles and such.
Yeah.
For like 2 weekends.
I couldn't play.
And then I've been having
the
malaria and the diarrhea and the typhoid Mary.
It's been rough in our friend group lately.
Yeah. And then P-Hive and Nut Bar bought matching
sweat
sets.
Yeah. They bought fits without us.
I guess that's okay.
And then took pictures and just threw it in our faces.
Right.
Like, you guys don't have these blue sweatsuits. And we don't. Yeah, we don't.
We don't.
Because we didn't leave our house.
We didn't leave our house.
No.
So I had to lay down so I didn't stroke out.
Yeah.
You did. I had to lay flat.
You did.
Because of my elderly body.
I swear to God. TT's on the high blood pressure med now. She has to get
But they kept saying, did you not take your meds? I said, I don't have medicine for it. I've always had super low blood pressure, hence why I'm here and concerned that it's in the 200s over 115. Yes. It's always been super like corpse level low. And I had just had an IUD put in, and 3 weeks ago my blood pressure test, and it was super low. Right. Why is it so high? And I feel like I'm stroking out right now. That's why I'm here. Help me. And they just said, oh. And then they said, let's just ride it out. That's what they said, and lay flat.
And we were all texting like, Sarah, we don't like this. This is horrible.
And the doctor said, I can see how you're concerned, but he said, I'm not concerned. Oh. He just said he would keep covering up the number because it kept creeping up higher and higher. I'd be like, okay. And then he just said, yeah, but your ears are infected. Yeah. Something's wrong. I kept saying, I think something's wrong. That's what I mean. But I thought I would just go to urgent care, and they put me in the ER.
Yeah.
They walked me right in there. I'm like, okay, then I'm on this side. So you felt something was wrong. If your blood pressure is 211 over 115. Mm-hmm. And you say nothing's wrong with you. I did have they took out 2 gallons of blood. Everything was fine. I tested everything, and I had an EKG, and it was totally fine. So they were like, we don't know.
It was just the stress of being so sick for so long.
I think so. And then they did say I freaked myself out.
And you freak yourself out. And the state of the world isn't great. There's a lot of shit going on. And it's been a lot.
Yeah, the doctor did say I seem like the type that works myself up. And I said, I don't know why you would say such a thing. That's not true at all.
When you texted that to us, none of us laughed or agreed.
I said, no, that's not right.
We just quietly thought, what? That doctor doesn't know her at all.
As he's running across the room to cover up each number every time. I have like total bruises too on my arm.
Oh, yeah.
How many times my blood pressure is taken.
Cutest little arms anyway.
But I do have a glitter in the shitter this week.
What is
it? First off, my
blood pressure machine. Home blood pressure machine.
I'm not allowed to use it, he said. My Onyx Storm 3 book came out this week, but I haven't read it yet because then if I read it, I have to wait like 3 more years for the next one to come out. So I'm going to wait.
Onyx what?
Onyx Storm. It's the 3rd book from like the 4th Wing series that I love so much.
Okay.
And so the 3rd one came out. And so I'm trying not to have any spoilers for it. I did not start reading it because I don't want to read it and then have to wait a million years for the next one and have it be over.
Yes.
Like anticipating waiting for it. So maybe it's spring break. I'll read it.
Okay.
But my real glitter in the shitter is I've been having difficulty with my stench. And I can't find a deodorant to save my life. And I finally did. And it's just a cheap ass Degree Advanced 72 hour actually works, and I don't smell anymore. I would be at work saying, what is that foul garbage stench? And it's me. And I would try like clinical deodorant or like man's deodorant and all these or natural weird deodorant. Nothing worked. And so I just tried cheap ass this Degree at Target. It's like sensual moments scent or something done. And it actually works like a fucking charm. I don't sweat and I no smell, and it's just cheap ass Degree.
I haven't tried Degree I feel like that's what maybe Phil wears.
I swear to God, it's the only thing that I've found that works lately for old lady stench. And it's a miracle. Sometimes you just have to go to the
sometimes you go back to the basics. And it
Jamie
works.
too said he went back to aluminum deodorant because his natural deodorant wasn't cutting it.
Yeah.
I said we reached an age where our stench is too strong.
It's true.
Old lady stink.
So mine is a weird one.
No.
You know I like to cook.
Yeah.
And So I was like trying to find something to make that I could just throw together and put in the oven while Phil and I had marriage therapy. And then so I had like chicken breasts and I had potatoes and I had carrots, and I was like, I'll just throw this together and like make like a stew or I don't know what it was. I was just like, my family needs to eat. And so then I didn't have any cream of chicken soup that I was going to try to like put in to make it stew-ish. So I had a can of golden mushroom soup.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, so it's Campbell's golden mushroom soup. And I use it in one other thing that I make, which is like a French dip sandwich.
Oh,
like if I make a roast in my crock pot, then I put the golden mushroom soup in there to help like make the au jus, and it's really good. So I must have had some because I must have bought that. But I put it in this dish, and it was fucking awesome.
That sounds very good.
It was fucking awesome. So now I'm going to just use it in more things. Golden mushroom soup.
I would not think of that, but that sounds very good.
Has much more flavor than cream of mushroom. And my family doesn't like cream of mushroom. I usually use cream of chicken in everything that I make, or I just like make my own and I use cream and like, what is it called? Chicken broth or whatever. But I made like a little roux in the bottom of the pan. I had butter and onions, and I was just like frying the onions up. And then I put some flour in there and made a roux. And then I dumped the golden condensed mushroom soup in and 2 cups of chicken broth. And then I just dumped the chicken breasts and cut up carrots and and
how clever
potatoes. And it was so good. And I was really proud of myself. I'm going to try to use golden mushroom soup in everything. Even though it has beef broth, which is weird because I put beef broth in the chickens, but it tasted good. And it also has like something.
Can you mix your meats? Not like you can't mix your booze.
I mean, I just mixed them tonight. I guess
maybe that's
so.
Good.
Fuck everyone.
Yeah. You can mix at barbecue places. You have a little chicken. You have some ribs.
Yeah.
So you can mix your meats.
I think you can. And whatever I did tonight.
That
was
sounds
delicious.
Delightful.
So
Yum.
Campbell's golden condensed.
I have not heard of that, and I feel like I might try that if I ever learn to cook.
Golden mushroom soup. Delicious. Put it in your crock pot with your roasts, or put it in a weird concoction that you make up
while you're wearing your degree.
Yes. Be like us.
Reading your Onyx Storm.
Get degree and golden mushroom soup.
We also too have a Facebook group you can join. We've had a lot of people join the last 2 weeks.
Fun when
from all over the world.
People. I know.
Like all over the world.
I know.
So welcome to the news. Which is nice to know that all those people all over the world are listening to us fools, and we apologize on behalf of America. I liked this one that Amy M. Galloway put. First, it's 2 little tiny baby kitties that are laying together, the cutest little tiny baby kittens. And then the saying, I think, on top is like, when the glow of your relationship wears off and you see him for who he really is, and like the top baby kitten starts just barfing on top of the little kitten on the bottom. So it's like, oh, you see your man after the glow of the honeymoon wears off, and you're like, God damn it. But this little kitten was just doing the cat barf over the little baby kitten on the bottom. Like, yeah. Then Amy said, yep, when the Vaseline wears off the lens. And you see.
I think that cat puking, I know I've told this story before, but did the baby cat sound like
no.
like Howard did?
It was like like a tongue out. Yeah.
It was the ghost of a dead baby, or my cat Howard. Okay, so my Facebook funny fucker, I am going to give shout out to Rachel Raymond. She had posted a little reel of some Australian firefighters.
Yeah.
And she said,
I said they're a handsome people.
you guys, the spiders might be worth it. And I just want to make sure that our Australian listeners know that, yes, we are afraid of huntsman spiders. Yes, they scare the living diarrhea shit right out of me. The kangaroos look very muscular and scary and look like they could kill me and my children. And irukandji jellyfish scare me from the ocean, but I really do love you and your
people are so good looking.
And I love the albatross story from Australia.
Yeah. They're very violent murderers and very good looking people.
And I do want to come and visit you someday. If I can bring a net with me wherever I go and just get the huntsman spiders out, because I could never get close enough to them with like a jar that. Someone
They're
said
brave. Just call any Australian over and they'll do it.
Maybe the firefighters. That's what I should do. If there's a spider in my hotel, I just call the Australian firefighters.
And they will come over without a shirt on.
That's what I'm there for anyway. Okay, good. So thank you, Rachel, for posting that. And I believe the spiders might be worth it too. And we're not making fun of you, Australia. We just think you're really fucking brave.
Well, they're brave and they're good looking.
Yeah. And we like your accents.
And they're funny.
I'm sure
really
they love our accents.
Oh, yeah, they do. They think they're just classy and smart.
Oh, we're so classy. Okay, so what's up today?
Well, there's a show called The FBI Files, and it's fucked.
I watched it as well.
It's all reenactment, really.
And it was something.
And the reenactments are, I would say it's, they're not going to win Emmys anytime soon.
No.
And it is hosted by a former head of the FBI's New York office, and he looks a lot like Paul Sorvino.
He does. He had the earlobes that stuck out.
He did.
At the bottom. You know what I mean? Like his ears were flat to his head.
Better for listening gear.
But then they were so floppy at the bottom that they turned out.
He had some issues.
I didn't think he was real magnanimous.
No.
I thought, that was an interesting choice.
He was not a charismatic Paul Sorvino.
It was a choice.
He was a very dull Paul Sorvino.
Anyway, that's how it started.
So he hosts it, and he kind of tells about each case. So
luckily, he really doesn't say much. It's just
he
like
says
one little
line,
blurb, and then
he's gone forever.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about fucking Marines this time. Yeah. So we're going
Semper Fi.
The Marine Corps base at Quantico, Virginia. So like
the show Quantico?
Must be.
Wasn't that a show?
I think so.
I never watched it.
I didn't either.
Okay.
But we're at the Marine Corps base in Virginia, 35 miles south of Washington, D.C. And I guess it's been there since 1917. Which you'd think it would be there longer. I don't know.
That's when you kicked cholera.
I did.
For the third time.
Yeah. My carbuncle came back for this 19th time. And it says it's a Marine. It's being tough being a Marine. That's hard to be a Marine, I guess. And then what's like the elite Marines? Because there's Navy SEALs and there's like Thunderbirds and there's...
I don't know.
Top Gun. I don't know. But Marines are tough. And sometimes they're a little bit nuts because they're tough. I don't know. But they show the base, and then they show just like a group of 10 Marines just sitting there fucking around doing nothing. Could they have done some B-roll of Marines like working out or being Marines? They're just sitting there picking their asshole in the B-roll.
Yes, they made
it looked like you were playing dice or something, or jacks. You were sitting in a circle.
Jacks?
Yes, picking shit off the ground.
I don't know,
but they didn't look like have them doing something or have their shirts off. They were just dicking around and picking their ass.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're at this Marine base, and I guess the married officers' quarters is called the MOQ, which is not very clever.
No,
but it works. And they look like just the shittiest.
Right.
Shitty dumps. And my parents had to live in a MOQ at Fort Bragg, which I guess is Fort Liberty now. And they were there right after that. The guy who murdered his family there in 1970.
Okay.
So in the married quarters, which it looked cuter on the show on the inside than I think it maybe was in reality, but I don't know. I feel like because they didn't look. It looks like that's rough.
Those from
to
the
live
outside,
in those on the outside.
Yeah.
But living there for 6 months was Captain in the Marines, Shirley Russel.
Yes.
And her husband, Robert.
Stupid Bob.
Yeah. And again, this is the year 1989. We're in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, we see Captain Shirley. She's packing up her suitcase. She's packing up her zippered parachute pants.
Yeah.
She's folding up her zippered parachute shirt.
Yes.
Her multiple outfit, her multiples that can turn into a dress,
that had,
tank top, leggings.
Also a tube top or a belt. Or a belt. Yeah.
She's packing up her giant shoulder pad big business business wear, overcoats and all that stuff, packing it. And her gun. She's packing up her gun as well and putting it in just into the suitcase willy-nilly. Her gun is going in, not in any case or anything. Because she's leaving her fucking husband. She's leaving Robert because he's a dick. And Robert is in the corner going, come on, give me another chance. Come on. Whining, like literally whining. And the actor looks exactly like George Costanza. Short, chunky, bald, glasses, George Costanza. Come on.
And I thought,
let's work it out. Come on. And Shirley's totally ignoring him.
And I thought she must have gone through a period of blindness.
Absolute blindness.
Maybe scarlet fever hit hard.
Mary Ingalls look-alike contest or
an
eye blind-alike contest.
It seemed, though, as if she had come back around and her sight had returned.
Oh, yes.
And she
did. It did quick.
Gonna dip out.
Yeah, because she was smart and she just lost it for a little bit and it came back.
Yeah.
So she moves out of the married quarters because she doesn't want to be married to Ass Robert anymore.
Right.
And then she goes into what they call the bachelor quarters.
Right.
Because even though there's bachelorettes in there, there's still the bachelor quarters.
Called it the bachelors.
Yeah. Which is weird.
I mean, thought that was weird too, and they said it 1,000 times.
1,000 times the bachelor quarters. Can't you just call it something else?
She went back to the bachelor quarters. Because
it just makes it seem like they're just fucking in there all the time. Like weird men are fucking in there. I don't know, but then maybe I'm just weird.
Yeah.
But she was moving up in her career. So she's really smart and organized. So she had this desk job and she worked in personnel and administration. And her boss was kind of her like bestie. Mm-hmm. He was looked like this kind of badass Marine that you would see kind of in movies and TV. Like with
he was real thick
and the flat top gray hair. Mm-hmm. But the way he acted, it seemed their relationship was like two bestie girls. Because he seemed like he really was her like a girlfriend to her. He liked her a lot.
He did. He was sweet.
Yeah, he seemed to care about her, and he knew her personality so well. He knew when things were right or wrong about her instantly, which that's a smart friend. You know your friend, like when things are off, you know they're off right away, and that was him.
Yeah.
So I like that he knew her personality so well, like when things were being told about her, right away he was like, that's bullshit, or that's no, or oh, okay. He was super impressed with Shirley because she was working hard. She was trying to rise up in the Marines, and she came from nothing, really, and made a lot of herself and was so hardworking and smart and had a great personality and was super energetic. He liked working with her, and he liked having her around and talking to her as friends. But they show this scene. He's in the office, and then Shirley picks up the phone, and then she's really angry, like, I told you not to call me here. I can't talk to you now. I can't. And he's just standing there like, well,
looking at papers on her
pretending
desk.
to like, I'm going to, this is awkward. And you can tell, and his name was like Hodges, or something, Lieutenant Hodges. He's a Lieutenant
Dan?
Colonel.
Oh.
Lieutenant Colonel James Hodges.
Okay.
So he's listening in on the phone call and like, oh, shit's going down. And he wants to gossip with her. He knows like she's kicking Robert to the curb because Robert is gross. He's a balding fool. And he knows he has some personality issues. He said too, he acted like her big brother as well as her mentor, and they would talk for hours about her marriage and how Robert was a fucker. So on Thursday, March 2nd, 1989, this is about a month after she kicks Robert out, she requests a day off from work so she can go and repaint the married quarters. Why does she have to do that shit? And clean it
because she's a woman.
Well, I mean, but why does she have to redo it all for the next fool who has to go in there?
She probably didn't want to. She probably wanted her like security deposit back.
Well,
so they probably made her do it.
So she wanted to repaint the quarters, the mock, and she was finalizing the legal separation. So she was picking up this paperwork.
Yes.
And that was like a Friday. And so then like a Friday or something. And then Monday, she was supposed to be back at work. And when the lieutenant colonel comes back in, he's expecting to see her at her desk, and they talk and gossip. And he wants to ask her how her weekend went. And she's not there. And she's never late. She's never not there without
missing
an excuse. Like she called in sick or she's called in. He knows immediately if she's not at her desk at the time it's supposed to be, something is wrong.
Right.
Which is good because it's so out of character for her. She has a perfect work record and she'd never once been late to work. In fact, if you're in the Marines and you're just ticking around and not showing up for work, that's kind of an issue, right? Like
yeah, for sure.
Bad.
You wouldn't make it, right? Yeah.
So he actually calls another major, like another guy, and asks, like, where the hell is Shirley? I need to find Shirley. Or calls where her bachelor quarters are and calls those people. And they're like, no, she's not here.
Yeah. She called the bachelor quarters because they have like a person who works at the desk.
Like a dorm?
Yeah.
And so they check in all the hookers that go there?
I don't know.
Or do the hookers sign in?
But
why is that guy working there?
Why didn't she just have a phone in her room where they could leave a message?
Just like a regular person so you could just answer your phone.
It wasn't 1950.
No.
It was 1989.
But the bachelor's quarters, she was not at home. And she had not been there for a few days. There were no sign of her.
Yeah.
But there was no indication that she also moved out of the bachelor quarters. So now Hodges is getting nervous and he thinks, I'm going to call her fucking husband and see what is going on. Robert had to move off base because he is an ex-Marine, and we'll get into why he's an ex-Marine.
Right.
And so he could not stay on the base. Robert Russell was supposed to be helping Shirley clean and paint their married quarters over the weekend. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of the last one to see her, and they were going to meet at the couple's, married quarters to repaint it. And so Hodges calls him and says, can we meet there so that we can talk to you about where your wife is? Because Shirley's missing. And so they meet Russell. And they say, do you know where Shirley is? Because Shirley's fucking missing. She's not at work. And you were the last one to see her. And Russell's like, well, certainly on Friday, she showed up here. But you know what? She wanted to walk to go pick up the paint at the store. So the Marine base has like a shopping center and a grocery store. Right. And right away, Hodges says, bitch, are you telling me that Shirley wanted to walk to the shopping center on base that's 5 miles away and come back carrying 2 gallons of fucking paint
Right.
5 miles back and not drive her car? And Robert's like, yeah, that's what she said, and that's what she did. So, of course, right away they thought, that's a lie.
Like you're going to carry
big-ass
gallons
heavy
of
paint?
paint?
That's heavier than shit. And
For
walk
5 miles?
5 miles and spend more time with waste all that time walking and then spend more time with the husband you hate?
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
That's not going to happen. And she would have already had the paint all ready. She wouldn't have just had... The paint would have been ready because she would have been ready to go that minute to have the time go as fast as possible. And so Hodges knew like that was bullshit right away. He ignored him because that was such a dumbass thing to say. And he walks around and inspects the whole apartment. And then they have some dumbass storage shed right next to their apartment, townhome, married quarters. And so Hodges and the other guy he's with, and they're wearing like these coats and hats, and it was giving kind of an SS look to me. Even though it's a Marine formal wear.
You know what? I thought the same thing.
It was giving me Nazi.
Yes.
And I got a little nervous.
Because it was like brownish.
Yeah, they look like Nazis.
Something. Yeah.
I just got it. Yeah. I got it.
But I think it was maybe just poor costuming.
Yes, the costuming was Nazi.
The budget had to have been
They took from the wrong
low.
Shelf.
Yeah.
And they gave them Nazi.
They were like, oh, these are 1940s.
Right. It
SS
wasn't,
costumes,
and they not current Marine.
89 Marines.
So
yeah.
I really, like, my blood pressure again went up when they were giving Nazi.
Yeah.
So that made me nervous that these 2 Nazis walked into shed with fucking Robert Russell. But right away Hodges looks at the floor and he's like, what's all the fucking blood on the floor? And he knows it's blood because there's blood all over the floor.
Yes.
And Russell says something like, oh, it's my nail polish. What did he say? Like, oh, it's something stupid.
It's rust.
Yeah, rust or something
or
fucking
paint.
dumb.
I bet it's rust or paint.
Yeah. And then Hodges, they said, well, Hodges was skeptical of that because he's no expert on blood. I'm going to say he's a fucking Lieutenant Colonel Marine. He should be a very good expert on blood. Doesn't he kill people with his bare hands? Can a Marine do that? A Marine should know what blood looks like. Don't they get bloody all the damn time?
The whole time I was thinking, why is a Marine here and not a cop? I don't understand.
Right, this Nazi Marine, and he knows blood.
A Marine
and why
is
aren't the
not
cops
a cop.
There? No.
Aren't there Marine cops?
I think
what is NCIS?
But
Navy?
I think the guy behind him was a Marine cop. Was
Navy
he?
Cops?
I don't know.
Aren't there Marine cops?
Yes. He reported to the NIS. Is that a Marine cop? And the FBI's Washington field office.
If we were learned people, we would know. But instead, we're dumbasses and we still think that we should make a podcast. So I know that we have Marines in our group and why people who are married to Marines and probably grew up in Marine family and are Marines and kicking ass. And so if you know, just tell us on our Facebook group.
They did get an FBI agent from Washington called Alan, and Alan comes and gets involved. And so Alan says, when people go missing, there's 3 things. They either are abducted or they walk away on their own or there's foul play.
And we're like, no shit.
It's like, well, of course.
I guess.
What the hell? You're in the FBI and you're telling me this?
Right.
And you're saying all these words? We get it. Just get to the point.
So maybe the Marine was a better investigator than this stupid ass. But
so they, again, go to Robert Russell, who is the missing woman's husband, and question him again. And, well, no, they first go to a neighbor of the married quarters. And she says, well, around that day of Shirley's disappearance. Oh, no, this is Robert again. So Robert said, when she's painting, now besides walking to the store and carrying 400 pounds of paint and walking 5 miles back, she also went to lunch with a friend at 1:30. I'm not sure who the friend was. And then Robert said, I called her bachelor quarters at 3:30, but she wasn't back yet. And then I went to go to, where did he go? Ohio or something? Or he drove Pennsylvania. And then I drove to Pennsylvania conveniently the weekend she disappeared. I was in Pennsylvania the whole weekend with my parents. So that's the story he's giving the FBI agent. That once they're done painting, she goes out to lunch with a friend at 1:30. He tries to call her at 3:30. She's still out with the friend, according to the bachelor hooker check-in guy at the bachelor residence. And he leaves then at 4 p.m. to drive to Pennsylvania, and he's with his parents the whole rest of the weekend. And the FBI guy is like, oh, okay. So he tries to figure out more about Shirley. She has no enemies.
Again.
Yeah.
I always laugh every time they say no enemies.
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't like a Avenger enemy or Avenger villain or whatever. She wasn't Spider-Man villain or my God.
No one has enemies.
It's just no, like,
I mean, I guess some people do.
But this isn't Marvel or DC Comics where she has like these villains chasing her down.
Right.
But there were some issues because they were an interracial couple.
Yes.
Okay. Shirley was black while Russell looked like George Costanza. I mean, Robert Russell looked like George Costanza.
Yeah.
And Robert did tell the Nazi-looking Marines and the FBI that while in Pennsylvania, in his hometown, they would be harassed by racists. And they do a reenactment where some guys in a truck yell out, "Hey, go hang out with your own kind," as they drive by. And like Shirley's like, Jesus Christ,
and
what the hell?
The guy who plays Bob does the worst acting ever when he like puffs his chest out, but not really. And he's like, "Oh, say it to my face."
Yeah, he's 5'1".
Yeah,
and the truck guy
and like has a belly.
Go hang out with your own kind.
Yeah,
and then they drive away, and I mean it's just ridiculous and awful, of course. And Shirley is just like, this fucking town.
Yeah,
and then she has this fucking husband. But it's very upsetting to her. And then they're back at their Marine married quarters, and they're getting weird calls.
Yes.
And Robert says he's getting calls where I don't know what they're doing, saying racial things on the phone, Robert said. And it's upsetting to both of them, which is totally, if that was even true too, is completely fucked. Yeah. And so she just felt, what the hell is going on? Robert's second story then is the days before Shirley disappeared on that weekend. Robert just, she had dumped him a month before, but Robert was still very concerned about her protection from these go hang out with your own kind racists, that he decides
these
that
Pennsylvania racists, even though they don't live in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. They're in Quantico. He decides he is going to go to a pawn shop and buy a shitty 25 caliber semi-automatic pearl-handled gun 2 days before Shirley disappeared. Coincidentally, even though Shirley is a trained Marine with her own firearms,
right?
That she knows how to use and actually owns.
Yes,
but he bought her the shitty pawn shop gun.
And he says, did he have his guns still, or do they take your guns when you are gone from the Marines? You have to.
I'm sure I'm sure they took all
your
his
guns. Okay.
Yeah. So Russell then says when he goes to help her, like clean out the quarters,
the house. Yeah.
He says he puts like his hand creepily on her shoulder. First of all, that wouldn't have happened. She wouldn't have let him touch her or come near her or talk to her. She would have been like, "Bitch, you're painting that side. You're painting this room. You're not talking to me. I'm going to paint over here. We're doing this quick." And then bitch, you're leaving.
Yeah, we're getting this stuff.
But he puts his hand on her shoulder and like kisses her and says, "Honey, I got you this shitty ass gun to protect yourself," and puts it right up to her tits and like points it at her tits, and she takes it in the reenactment and is like, "Oh, thank you. That did not happen at all." And so right away, of course, the Marines are like, "Hell No.
Right.
She is a Marine and has her own gun. None of this happened.
One more thing that
Absolutely
does
not
sound like Shirley.
This did not make sense. And Shirley, of course, has a gun. She's not going to take this pissant gun.
No.
And now they know he admitted that he bought a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Now they talk to Shirley's friend, Patrice Gale, who I believe was she also. No, maybe she is a captain in the Marines as well.
She was a Marine too, yeah.
She is the one who did pick her up. She was going to come pick her up for lunch at 1:30 and take her to get her legal paperwork signed. But Captain Gale says, I went to the married quarters that she was repainting with Robert, and she wasn't there. Right. Robert said she had gone to go walk and pick up more paint. And Gail was like, hell no, she's not walking to the store to pick up paint and not driving her car.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. So she was super concerned that her friend wasn't there and hadn't called her, and
she knew
missed out. That doesn't make sense.
She knew Shirley had gone there, obviously to paint, but also to get Bob to sign the papers.
Right.
And so they were going to go drive those papers to the lawyer when they were signed.
Right.
And so she's like, oh,
she was worried because she had to get Bob to sign them, and she knew Bob was a fucking psycho.
Right.
And so now that Shirley's missing and just Bob is there, Gail is freaking out. Because she knows Robert must have done something, because she knows that in their relationship, Robert was starting to get kind of violent with Shirley at the end. And that's why Shirley cut it off. Mm-hmm. And she's just panicking because now she's missing. So on Saturday, March 4th, the day after she disappears, this is where I think we get the message that the neighbor... Oh, no, this is where the bachelor quarters guy who checks in the hookers said he thought he saw Shirley there talking on the phone in the lobby, but it ends up not being her because it was not even close to being her, not wearing the same clothes, and he never looked at her face, and he was distracted, Andy never talked to her, and it probably wasn't even Shirley, and he shouldn't have even brought it up. And it was like, why did you even tell them this?
I felt like this part of, what was this, FBI files?
FBI files.
It got a little long for me.
Yes,
here.
They could have cut that out.
They had to talk about every single fucking red herring that ever happened, and it was like, shut up. Just tell me what happened. Because then somebody else, they say, So Robert was at his parents that weekend, but he left later than they thought. He said he left at 4, but they found that a neighbor saw a blue station wagon back up to that bloody shed at around 4 for some reason. And then leave. And by the timing of when Russell got to like his parents, they figured he left later than he said. And so then they put out all this shit about missing Shirley all over the news and all over everything. And then this guy in this grocery store or gas station says, I think I saw her. And again, it was a totally different woman and completely wrong and a waste of time. And totally stupid. Yes. And everything about it was wrong. And so it was a totally waste of time. Now, Shirley, all this time that she's missing, they realize she's not using her bank or credit card. She's not calling family. She's not calling friends. She's not doing anything. So they are sensing that she's is dead. And so they turn it into a homicide investigation. Again, her husband is the main suspect. Good old Robert.
Because he is the last one to see her. They decide, though, to have all these Marines get together, and they're going to look in the woods around Quantico, and they show 2 Marines looking in a very lighted, clear area using flashlights that I think were turned off. And they were doing a very weird looking scene. But they were looking in these woods, and they didn't find anything, no trace of anything. And they go to Robert again and say, bitch, can you submit to a polygraph? And he says, Hell yeah.
Of course, I'd love to.
So he does it 3 times, and he's acting like cool and collected, like he is just a god among gods. And bitch fails all
Every
3 spectacularly, and he still acts like he's got it together, like he is composed.
Every answer was deceit.
Did you kill your wife? No. Are you an asshole? No. Are you homelier than sin? No. What's this? Oh, sir, you have failed. But he was super smug, and the detectives just are finding him to be an absolute dick. He even consents to be fingerprinted in the show, like reacting it. He's acting like a huge prick getting fingerprinted even.
He's like, yeah, I'll give you my fingerprints.
Just a gross
and
pig.
just smearing them back and forth.
Why don't you jerk with those inky hands, you bitch?
Yeah.
So now they don't have enough proof, but they know.
Why don't you jerk with those inky hands?
He probably did.
It took me like it took me like 3 seconds to like comprehend.
Well, the worst is yet to come. You would get it all gross and inky. Not that it's big, I'm sure. The worst thing is this bitch the whole time. Oh no! First off, Russell is such a dick that he was married before to Pam. And the bitch breaks up with Pam in 1986 on Christmas Day with his kids there opening gifts.
So they reenact the scene, right? And the whole time I kept thinking, why did they have to decorate the house like Christmas? You know, like that was a weird choice. Like why, if they're just going to do a quick, like, hey, here's my wife and kids in a breakup scene. And the kids were unwrapping presents and you can see them having this like silent conversation. And then he gets up and then they say, then he left his wife on Christmas Day. And you're like, what?
They left Pam. And Pam's like, what?
And the kids are just opening their presents and he walks out.
He walks out, leaves his kids and freaking Pam on Christmas in 1986. And then 6 months later, he was married to Shirley. So he was a Marine at the time. They both ended up stationed at Paris Island in South Carolina. Shirley then ended up transferred to Quantico, and Robert ended up staying in South Carolina. But since he's such a fucking weird asshole, he was doing frickety frack illegal shit on his computer. So he gets the boot, and they have to kick him out of the Marines because he's doing weird fucking.
But they never really said what it was.
It was some sort of fraud.
Fraud?
Some stupid ass fraud.
Sort.
And so
But this must have been the time when Shirley had come out of her blindness.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Because so he gets kicked out of the Marines for fraud, and they kick him out. They show the Marines coming and kicking him out of his office. I don't know what he's looking at, like porn or something.
And he's using like floppy disks.
Yes.
Like everything's on a floppy disk,
and
he's pulling them
it
out
around
and being secret.
And he's not even being secretive because he's on the computer with like his blinds open. They could walk right in and see his porn on his computer. But it's a floppy disk computer, and I don't think you could do porn on those.
I don't know.
Now that Robert's not a Marine, he still could live in the married quarters, but once she dumped him, he had to move off the base because he wasn't a Marine.
There
so he was pissed at that, and they think that was part of the reason he was getting so mad at Shirley is because she was a Marine and rising up, and he was kicked out and like this total loser and kind of seeing his career go to shit. But he did it all to himself.
Yeah, he did.
And then what does he do? This loser kicked out fraud porn Marine. He becomes a teacher at a high school. And I said, what's the training? How is he a teacher all of a sudden with no skills and no training as a teacher? What the hell is he doing? How do they just pick this dick off the street to go be a teacher at a high school?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what they do with substitutes now.
That's true.
But you wouldn't have thought in 1989 they would have let... I should do some background and research on...
Like, did he have any kind of training in this?
Where had he been before this?
And then, or gone to school for it? Like, what did he teach? And then they said he started becoming a monster booze hound. So he's this drunken, untrained teacher at a high school that's some sort of weird... He got kicked out of the Marines for something awful. And he's working with children and getting drunk all the time. And then he would come home to Shirley and like be super gross and physically abusive.
Yes.
And that's why she gave him the boot.
And she was going to Al-Anon. She was like, this is...
She said, this is fucked.
The worst. Yeah.
And he's getting more and more jealous of her having a career and him being just a fucking idiot. Shirley then confides in her another friend, Captain Mack, that's a captain in the Marines. And Captain Ann Mack was concerned because she noticed that Bob, her husband, is starting to stalk her and coming over and bothering Shirley all the time and coming over to Ann's house when Shirley's over there, like early in the morning. And when Shirley's leaving for work, he's coming over and harassing her and trying to get her to spend time with him. And Captain Mack is just like, holy God, this guy, Robert, is a fucking psycho. And he's not leaving her alone. He's totally weird. And she was getting she was worrying about her friend and getting all of this fucking creepy vibes from him. But at the same time, he's living off base with a new girlfriend named Sandy Flint.
Yeah.
And so the FBI agents go to Sandy's house, and the actress Sandy, I said she had hair that was down to pork. She had perm hair, down to pork hair. That's what it said. She looked like Bernadette Peters.
Did. Wow, it was curly.
From Annie. Yeah. She looked like Bernadette Peters from Annie, Rooster's
He's
girlfriend.
Yes.
And so Sandy Flint answers the door when the FBI agents first knock on the door, and she's like a cunt.
Yeah.
And says, like, I don't know nothing about nothing except porkin'. And she slams the door in their face. And when they're leaving, fucking Sandy Flint's father-in-law, because she's married still too. Are they all living together?
I don't know.
Because the father-in-law is even going to the home. Does she live with their husband's family and her husband and fucking Robert Russell? What is this?
I don't know.
Some sort of Partridge Family freak out? So Sandy Flint's father-in-law tells the FBI, Robert Russell, he's porking Sandy Flint, my son's wife. Yeah, their marriage isn't working out too well. I think they're going to get divorced.
Like, what are you doing over there then?
Yeah, and then Robert Russell, he asked me 2 days after that Shirley disappeared, he says, let's say you had a whole bunch of blood on a concrete floor in your shed.
Right.
How would you go about cleaning up that blood? And then I told him I would use chlorine and soap or water, or I would use some kind of acid. And then
what kind did he say?
I don't know. What did he
used he
like
said
this
a
kind of acid
kind.
Yes. That Robert ended up using. He bought this acid and poured it all over the blood.
Yes.
And cleaned all the blood.
I'm afraid to look it up because
it's on here somewhere.
I don't want
someone
to think I'm
muriatic acid.
Muriatic acid, yes.
To put muriatic acid over it. So the father-in-law just spills the whole family secrets to the FBI agent in the driveway right away. And so the FBI is like, oh, well, thank you. You told us everything we need to know. So they go back up to the door and they tell Sandy, like, we know everything now because your father-in-law right here told us everything. And so Sandy's like, oh. And she was way more cooperative because now they know she's like a fucking part of a murder.
Right.
And so she says, well, Robert and I are porking and we're having an affair. I'm still married. He's still married. But what we do for fun and for dates is he makes me surveil Shirley Russel.
Uh-huh.
Like instead of going, like to a restaurant and then going dancing at a club, I just follow his wife around.
Right.
And tell him what she's doing all day. And that's what he tells me a date is.
And I love it.
Yeah, and I like it. It's super fun.
Uh-huh.
So all Robert uses Sandy literally as just a spy.
Yeah.
And he just porks her to keep
and a
her
place to sleep.
And so she'll pay for him food and lodging, and so he can sleep. And he uses her blue station wagon, and he makes her follow Shirley everywhere to see if Shirley is having an affair, even though Robert is clearly having an affair.
Right.
Why do you have a boyfriend that makes you follow his wife all day and that's all you do? You don't do anything else with him.
Like her husband must have been really bad.
Yeah, and you still live with your husband.
If this seemed better.
Yeah, and this was better. Your boyfriend, all he does is talk about his wife and make you follow her around all day and then grill you on what his wife did all day?
Yeah.
Do you not have any dignity? Do you not have any kind of you can do better, Sandy. You can do better. Your hair can get better. You can do better. This is very bad, Sandy. This is a bad relationship. These are not good dates.
No.
This is bad.
No.
He is not a good boyfriend.
It even gets worse.
No, it gets worse. So now she gets a call from Robert, and he says that didn't he put like a recording device
in her
car, and that went nowhere. All it would get is probably her singing to the radio.
Yeah.
And then he breaks in she's staying with a friend. So Robert breaks into her bedroom that she's staying within a friend and sits on her bed, probably jerking it with his ink fingers, reading her journal and calling Sandy at the same time and telling her exactly what he's doing.
Saying, you know where I am? I'm sitting on Shirley's bed, drinking her wine, and I'm reading her diary.
I would be like, can we go to like Applebee's once and go see a movie instead? Because this really isn't doing it for me. Like he sat on Shirley's bed drinking, her wine out of her glass.
Yep.
Reading her journal to his quote unquote mistress.
Yeah.
What? Like what? Don't you have anything else to do?
No.
You have nothing else to do?
Clearly not.
Both of them have nothing else to do.
Mm-mm.
My God. So this is so awful. So Sandy's telling all of this shit to the FBI. And they go to Ann Mac's house where Shirley was staying. They find the wine glass and they find his fingerprints all over it, but it's still not enough. They don't even have Shirley's body, and it's not enough to charge him with murder.
So now they just know he was a psycho, like stalking her.
Right. And they do find out though from Sandy Flint with hair to pork that he did borrow her blue station wagon that day, which matches the neighbor saying that a blue station wagon backed up to the bloody shed at that time, and he drove the blue station wagon to his parents' house, even though he has his own pickup truck. So they're wondering, why did he not use his pickup truck? And the FBI figures out, well, his pickup truck has an open bed in the back, and if he was going to put Shirley's body, which they know must have been in that shed for all the blood to be all over the floor, her body would have been just visible in the back of the truck. So he used the station wagon to hide her body. So he drove with a rotting body from Virginia to Pennsylvania.
Yes.
With a body decomposing and rotting in the back.
Yes.
Of his wife. The whole time you're driving with a dead corpse in the back of your truck? I mean, your station wagon? How do you do that? Drive with a dead body in your car
I
all
don't
that
know.
time?
But people do it.
Do you eat a sandwich on your
think
way
they
and
do.
drink pop?
Yeah.
Do you listen to songs on the radio and you have a corpse gurgling and voiding itself in the back?
You're just like,
I don't know how a brain.
I
a body
see
can
a
do that.
little silhouette. You're
Yes.
the singing queen. Wow.
And
the dead
my
body's back
God.
there.
So the FBI tries to go back to the shed, but he did use the muriatic acid and cleaned up all the blood. So they should have taken samples of it earlier.
That's why I was like, damn it. Why is that a Marine and not an FBI
They
person?
should have taken all of that earlier. So the stain, they chiseled out all that stuff and they couldn't get any of the blood because he already destroyed it.
They made us watch that for like 5 minutes.
I know,
of
them
someone
chiseling.
trying
The Nazis
to get,
chiseling it out.
and you're like, Jesus,
Yeah.
just say they took it and there was nothing on it.
But then we learn that Robert has 2 fucking brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So when he went home, he's talking to his brothers. He makes one brother take the station wagon and they clean the shit out of it. And the one brother is like, this is weird. But there was a corpse in it. Did you not notice the corpse smell? The blood, the corpse in the back?
He must not have.
So the one brother tells the FBI, like, we had to clean the shit out of this car for some reason. That was weird. And then that same brother said that like a month before, Robert was, real down. So they went and took his 450 guns out of his house because he was threatening to like kill Shirley and kill people.
Right.
And,
So it's not just like, oh, you're kind of depressed lately. I'm kind of worried about you.
Yeah.
Are you like doing okay? It was like, holy fuck, he's unhinged. Let's go get his guns.
They had to get his guns because they knew he was a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
And then he calls his other brother and says, hey, hey, can you get me some dynamite?
What?
Have you ever found the need ever to ask anyone for dynamite?
No, I don't even know where you would get it.
Like how does one get, how do you get dynamite? What would you do if Nutbar called you and asked you for dynamite? Would you say, why do you need dynamite?
I would think like she was being JJ or something like dynamite.
Yeah, dynamite.
Yeah,
I know. If my sister called me and asked for dynamite, I would say, I'm not going to help you get dynamite. I don't understand why you need dynamite.
We're going to a psychiatric hospital right now to put you in a hole.
Like, what are you doing with the dynamite? Because you could only do things that are destructive with the dynamite.
I've only seen it on cartoons.
Right. Like, where are you going with this dynamite?
Right.
No one's ever asked anyone for dynamite ever.
No.
And your brother asked you for dynamite and you find that just normal?
Right.
I mean, this is nuts, but it makes sense because the FBI then learns from fucking Pam, first wife, when they talk to her, that in Pennsylvania, where Robert and the brothers live, are a bunch of abandoned coal mines.
Yes.
So now the dynamite question makes sense because they think, did he take the body in the station wagon to an abandoned coal mine, throw her in, and then did he want to dynamite the shit out of the mine to collapse it on her body?
Right.
So they have a whole bunch of Marines come and look at as many mines around that time as possible.
I mean, thousands and helicopters, and there was just like fucking everyone there.
And they don't find shit.
No, nothing.
I mean, because you can't. I mean, it could be, she could have been anywhere or not there at all.
And you can't like climb down in these abandoned mines because they're super dangerous.
No, and they could collapse at any second. So they really couldn't even search. And then they get a call from the Paris Island or the South Carolina where Robert was a Marine. And they say, we thought maybe you'd want to know, like on all his fucking floppy disks when he was, like when we kicked him out, he had a whole list of 26 items on why he wanted to kill his wife and like the steps he needed to kill his
steps for
26 steps to kill his wife. Do you want those? And the police are like, holy shit. So they get the floppy disk. The dumb bitch wrote on a floppy disk 26 steps that he needed to take to kill his wife.
And he called it murder.
Yeah, it was, the whole file was named murder.
So they just double clicked on murder.
Yeah.
And then he wrote out 1 through 26.
And all the steps he needs to take to kill her.
Yep. So this was even before they lived back together.
I know he was planning on killing her
so long before. Like he turned into an alcoholic. He turned it like started being like all of these things happened. And he had done this way before.
Right. It stopped her and everything even. So they're like, all right, I think we have enough shit to try to arrest this dick, even though we can't find Shirley. So they do arrest him. And he's arrested in a jail because his new job is a substance abuse counselor at a jail. And where's his training for this?
I don't know.
How did he get this job?
This is when I thought, and I was like, didn't she just say he was a horrible alcoholic?
And he was a teacher alcoholic, and now he's a substance abuse alcoholic counselor at a jail? Who is hiring him?
And a teacher, I don't know. And when I look him up, I don't get any... I can't find. I mean, I just see court transcripts.
Does he just have some sort of fake resume and they just?
He must.
I mean, my God, how is he getting these jobs? What the hell? It's like a joke.
Also, I have my.
He goes to his interview like ham boned.
Yeah.
I want to be a substance abuse counselor.
Yeah.
Sir, are you drunk right now? Hell no.
Of course not.
You seem really hammered right now, sir. I haven't had a drink in a long time.
Right.
Like for 15 minutes. Who hires this guy? Oh.
Many people did, I
did
guess.
As a school and as a substance abuse counselor. This physically violent drunk murderer?
Yeah.
Oh. So the dick goes to court, and I guess porn hair testifies against him, and the brothers and freaking Pam, and the jury is like, this guy sucks ass. So what they think he did is like when Shirley went to paint and presented him with those papers, he just fucking freaked out. He had that gun purchased 2 days before because I think he had it planned anyway.
Yeah.
So he tells her to go into the shed, maybe to
get some paint.
Yeah. Get the paint, and shoots her in the shed and leaves her body there for the whole day until he can go back and get the station wagon, go back there at like 5, pick her body up, drives to Pennsylvania, and then dumps her in a mine. And then the brother said he didn't get him the dynamite, but he was going to blow up the mine with dynamite.
Right. So we don't know if he got the dynamite.
I don't know if he got it or not. And then, my God, you're going to blow up the body of your wife in a mine after it sat in your car all the way as you're driving? And what if you get pulled over and you have a big corpse in the back? How do you explain that? You go pull up to a gas station and everyone looks in your car and there's a big corpse in there?
Right. And they think it had to be wrapped up really well because they couldn't find any blood or any hairs, like nothing.
Yeah.
In that
and the brother was like
yeah.
not noticing.
Yeah.
But the jury comes back. They probably didn't even have the sandwich. And they come back and he was guilty. And he is sentenced to life where he doesn't get out.
Right.
He's full life in jail. And I don't even know if he's still alive. I hope not.
I don't know. I can't tell. There were lots of shows about this. Like it wasn't just the FBI files. Like there are some other...
Yeah, and this guy is like a freak-looking weirdo.
Yeah, made-for-TV movie, too.
Oh, my God, really?
Awful. And part of his 26 lists or steps, the last step was blame it on her own kind.
Oh, my God.
Remember that?
Oh, my God.
So he's married to a successful black captain.
And he's
in the Marines. And
his
then,
last step is horribly racist, like his fucking town.
Yes.
He is the worst.
Yes.
She must have been terribly blind to marry that fool. At least she recognized it pretty quickly.
Awful.
And fucking Pam got out. Thank God.
Yeah. I mean,
poor Shirley.
Cute. Robert, Bob, you're a dick.
Was a massive, stupid ass, dumbass dick. And Sandy, what are you thinking?
I hope for God's sake, Sandy,
just raise yourself above.
Yeah. Found a little self-love.
My God. Yeah. Anybody's better.
Yeah. For real.
Anybody.
Or just be by yourself.
Yeah, be by yourself. Get a dog or a cat.
Yeah, you don't have to spy on anyone's wife.
No, those are bad dates.
Those are. Well, we had an amazing book club last week, and half of us loved it and half of us hated it. I still can't believe that people hate this book.
I know, I loved it.
I'm personally insulted by it. But now we're reading a new book. Do you think I remember what it's called?
It is the red. Is it the red door? No, it's something like that.
I honestly have no idea. And so I don't even know why I brought it up, because I had no idea of where I was going with this comment or what was happening. But we will have a book club set up at the end of the month, and February's a short month. This is not a long book like All the Colors of the Dark, but we will have book club on the 25th of February. So if you're not catching up and you're listening to this, you have 4 weeks to read the book that nobody knows the title of.
I almost have it.
Sarah's so close.
Behind Closed Doors.
Oh, Behind Closed Doors.
B.A. Paris. I was completely wrong. Behind Closed Doors.
Paris. I feel like I've read a B.A. Paris book before.
I have too.
What was it?
I don't remember, but
okay.
I've read this one. So.
Okay. Do you like it?
I did like it.
Okay.
Yes, I did. It had many twists and turns. Many.
She's a British writer.
Yes. I like this one.
Okay, good. So Behind Closed Doors, we're reading it.
Yep.
Get with it, read with us, and then come and meet us on Zoom.
Exactly.
Can't wait. All right. Thanks for listening.
All right, bye.